Among the premium tasks, there are 2 tasks where we have to catch different fish on float rods with insect baits. One time it is level 2, task number 2, catch 7 different fish species with a float rod at Winding Rivulet. And level 6, task 3, catch 8 different fish species at Lake Ladoga with a telescopic rod and insects as bait. In these 2 tasks, that is exactly what we're doing now. And here we already are at Winding Rivulet, and we start right away with the first premium task. Catch 7 different fish species with a float rod and a bait from the category insects at Winding Rivulet. Yes, and of course we start with that. The easiest thing here is obviously bleak, simply on fly. You can catch them right here in the close range, almost immediately, or also up here in this area. And I would say I go up here first, because especially in the early morning hours, we definitely have a chance to also catch frogs on fly, and maybe even a roach goes in as well, or something like that. So that is definitely a possibility. Now, of course, we have a very limited selection of baits, and if we look into the inventory under natural baits, we can scroll down towards insects. Yes, and then we have the following selection here. So fly, horsefly, mayfly if you already have it, the diving beetle, botfly, maybeetle, dung beetle, grasshopper, cricket, I would also take with me. But apart from that, the mole cricket is maybe already clearly exaggerated. Nothing for this water. But with the cricket, we definitely continue as well. There we have a solid chance to catch an ID or maybe even another chub. And these here are then the baits for the significantly larger fish in this water. These 4 or these 5 if we also include the botfly, and these here are the 4 baits for the clearly smaller fish. And with that, we go in right away. That's what we start with. Additionally, with these baits, we actually have to pay attention to the minimum hook size. Here with the fly, we of course go very, very small. So with the hook size 24, tiny, exactly the same also here with the horsefly. However, with the mayfly, we already have to switch to a hook size 22 so that we can even use it at all. And here with the botfly, we already need a hook size 18. And here as well, it is everywhere, the hook size 18 that we use as the smallest possible hook. And here it is even the hook size 14 with the cricket. So we always take the smallest possible hook here on the telescopic rod. By the way, bait combinations do not work in this case. You cannot use a worm and an insect when the task says on insect bait. Then of course exclusively insect bait, so no combination with another bait that is not an insect. That does not work in this case. And here we can of course already start right away, so immediately here in the close range. And I also start right here because it is definitely possible that something other than just dace goes in here. And bleak, and if dace goes in, well, that is perfectly fine too. I still need the dace here anyway. So we now want to check off all fish for this task. That really cannot be that difficult. I set the bait depth to about 30 centimeters. Here it is even less, down to 20 centimeters. That fits for the fly. Then maybe the frog goes in as well and the bleak. And here, just checking once more. Here as well, we go a bit smaller again. So to about, let's say around 30 centimeters. That fits quite well. The dace also likes to go on that quite often. And here in front, something is already going in. Maybe a chub. Yes, indeed. Bang. So next fish. Now we only need 5 more. Chub is already checked off. So we continue. That one just bit here very small on a hook size 24 with horsefly as bait. This of course also works without double bait. Even so, with double bait, you naturally have an increased chance to finish something like this. Without double bait, you simply need a bit more time for this task. But it is absolutely doable. Completely understandable, even without using double bait here. Yes, bleak here as well. So you do not have to use double bait. It works without it, as I said. It can just take a bit longer sometimes. Chub again. Chub again. So it is already 6 o'clock in the morning now. That means I am now quickly heading to the spot where you usually catch the frog quite well. Yes, and of course I hope that this is still the case after the rebuild, meaning after the rework of the water, that we can still catch frogs here. I stay on the small hook size 24, but I go down to 18 centimeters, nice and shallow, and now I present the float directly next to the water lily leaves. So twice straight out with fly or with horsefly as bait, and I think something is already on. Indeed, that did not take long at all, and once again a chub goes in. That one has already been here several times, and the third rod here with the diving beetle, that one goes out as well. Here, however, completely different fish could also bite. For example, maybe gibel carp or crucian carp. Let's see what bites on the diving beetle. Here at the pond, up here at the end of this side arm. And there is something on again. Next chub, no bleak. And here we now have the first bite on the diving beetle, and it is already slowly pulling away. Well, for that, we of course do not need to waste the rare diving beetle. And something went on very quickly. That could already be the frog, and it is the frog. And with that, we have completed the next one. Yes, now I actually move on towards ID, or well, chub we already have. Let's see what will definitely go on the larger insects now. That means I now rebuild the rod. I switch to a hook size 22 and put the mayfly on. On the second rod, we even have another bite. Maybe another bleak. Yes, indeed. There have already been a lot of bleak here. And here I also rebuild, but now to a hook size 18. We go one size bigger here. And with the hook size 18, we can then also use the May beetle, for example. And as the third one, we also take the diving beetle off the hook size 18, and then I switch to the dung beetle. I leave the grasshopper out for now. The grasshopper is also a very typical bait for chub. That is why I leave it out for now. We have already had chub several times, and I start fishing here in the area. But I also go down to about 50 centimeters depth first, and then we see what bites now on these larger insect baits. And there we already have the first bite. I'm curious. Still bleak, and that on such large baits. That's of course bad. And there we have the next bite on mayfly. The ID is also already in. Very nice. So, we have now also checked off the next difficult fish. Yes, and now it is actually time for the easier fish. And for that, I would almost leave this spot again. This here is actually an area where gibel carp and crucian carp also go in from time to time, or where the gibel carp goes in regularly. I now test the diving beetle a bit more, and then if nothing else, I will actually move back into the flowing water. And then we hope to catch some more fish there, this time in the current. So for that, I go back into the mainstream, and then we see what happens. Now everything is set completely to diving beetle one more time, and I think something is going on rod number 1. Yes, a light lift bite. Well, there's something. Maybe it's a white bream. It's a white bream. Very nice. So white bream here, in this case on diving beetle. Very, very, very good. It is still not a gibel carp, but it can happen that gibel carp bites on this bait, but that is of course a bit tricky as well. So we wait on that a bit longer. I pack up here once more, and we go into the mainstream first. Maybe we can outsmart a few other significantly easier to catch fish there. And it keeps tugging. Yes, quite a bit of time has passed again, and I hope that now a little more also goes in here in this area. Well, look at that. There we already have it. The perch has gone in. Very nice. So, bleak, chub, frog, ID, white bream, and perch. Yes, and now only one fish is missing. And ideally, that would now be the asp. We take that along nicely now, or maybe with a bit of luck, something like a roach also goes in, simply on fly as bait. That is why I now still have the grasshopper out here for the asp, and I'm now also trying again with the mayfly larva. That just worked a moment ago. Oh, there is something on it, right? And is there something hooked? Oh yes, yes, yes. Here again on fly. On rod number 1, fly, once again the chub. So here we go, smaller again, on the normal fly, cast out very relaxed. Here I still have the grasshopper, that could also work quite well for the asp. And as the third setup, I now also have the fly again. However, I also take another look at what is currently listed in the records, in the weekly records, and then in the float rod records, for example for roach. And there basically only this bait remains. This bait combination, meaning horsefly and mayfly larva. That means I will also switch here again to the horsefly, and then hope that maybe even a roach goes in here on this bait. And while I am just looking into the net view, I noticed something. I still have not caught a dace yet. That would of course also be a thing. Technically, I would also still have to catch the dace. You can of course catch it very well. On fly, it goes in again and again. However, with dace, you really have to make sure that you fish very, very, very fine. I have had the best experiences when fishing with microbraid with a breaking strength of 2.8 kilograms and a line diameter of only 0.0 millimeters. So I try that again here now at 35 centimeters depth. Fly, micro, meaning super thin. And then of course, I hope that now maybe with a lot of luck, the dace also goes in here. And ideally, nothing big goes in that would instantly snap my line here. And something is already going in. And maybe it is just a bleak. It is the dace, so knowing how all tasks completed, that is really good, down to the details. Here you can see it once again. Bleak, of course, on fly. Chub goes on almost everything. I had an insane number of chub. Frog went here on horsefly in this case. Fly is, however, also always a good bait. ID on mayfly larva. White bream on the diving beetle. The river perch also on the mayfly larva. And dace also here once again on mayfly larva. And we would of course still have the option for the asp. That one can also go very well on grasshopper, on dung beetle, or on may beetle. So, completed, packed up? Yes. And with that we go straight on to Lake Ladoga. And then the next task is up next, so to speak. That is at Lake Ladoga with telescopic rods and also with insect baits. That means we now have the same baits with telescopic rods, but now at Lake Ladoga. Yes, and for this task we of course go into the boat, or rather, well, we already start here in the close range. And there we can actually already start here with fly and so on. So nice and shallow in the close range. Here we again have the fly on. And the third rod here is now with horsefly. So start already in this area. So this here is the first spot. Here we now try it with the first bait, meaning with the fly. Here, theoretically, mud minnow could go in. Here, maybe even a smelt could go in. So I'm curious what we catch here now. And of course, the same exact thing applies here again. So the task says, yes, catch 8 different fish species at Lake Ladoga with a telescopic rod and baits from the category insects. That means we have no weight requirement, and that's why we again take the smallest hooks and the insect baits. And so that we can get an impression of what can go in here on these baits, we of course look into the records. We simply click here on Lake Ladoga, and now we see all the fish that can be caught here at Lake Ladoga at all. And that is actually quite a lot. That means we have a large selection of different fish. ID looks quite good. We have chub here. 3-spine stickleback is definitely an option. The perch, the grayling, the frog, white bream, dace, rough, maybe also bleak, of course. Then we also have mud minnow, smelt, and also blue bream and white-eye bream here. So a huge selection of different fish that we can definitely all catch on insect bait. The question then, of course, is once again, which insect bait works best here? Oh, and there is the first one. Here on the micro braid, I almost missed the bite. Very nice. So there we already have the first candidate. On fly, the European grayling, right here in the close range, and that even on extremely, extremely, extremely thin line, the thinnest line in the game. Microbraid with only 2.8 kilograms breaking strength. Here as well, I change a few things again. And that means we go a bit bigger now. For example, here to the mayfly larva. And the third rod, which was on horsefly, had no reaction the whole time. Here we take another look. Maybe even actually try a bait combination. There is already a post by Northern Trout Buddy in the Discord, in the premium task section. By the way, the link to the Discord is directly under this video. And with this combination, meaning mayfly larva and fly, he caught the most fish. So that already makes a very good impression. And now it is just about testing different spots. So we start, of course, right here in this close range in this shallow area. Then we also test right here at this boathouse in this area, and then this entire shoreline where the water plants are in this area, all the way to the tip over there. I will now walk through all of that step by step. So enough testing. We continue with the test. Do not wait too long. That is all wasted time if nothing wants to work here. Well, then it does not work. Then we go somewhere else, and then we have to try somewhere else. I go here to 1 meter depth. The other one was just at 80 centimeters, and then we cast out over there. There you can often catch Reaper smelt, white-eye bream, and blue bream. And that is why we also try these baits in this area, maybe even a bit deeper before I even get into the boat. That would then be the last option. First, we try to catch everything from the shore, and maybe that already works. And here something is already happening. Yes, and it bit very nice on just mayfly larva. The Reaper smelt. Well, look at that. Just mentioned it, and it is already there. Second fish, just mayfly larva, without anything else, meaning without double bait. So cast out again right away here, 1 meter depth, and the first fish is there. And there, something immediately chased after it. Now in the combination. And there we have the Reaper smelt again. I gladly take that as well. The Reaper smelt. A good fish, it is even worth it silver-wise. If you catch them a bit bigger, you can actually make quite good silver with Reaper smelt. And we continue here again with the combination, and on the right side as well. So both rods currently with the mayfly larva, either in combination, meaning mayfly larva plus fly, or just the mayfly larva alone. So both seem to work, bait combination and solo. Now I have to see which rod goes first. Here it bit, and can I still get the second one? Dwarf smelt also checked off, very nice. It even hooked automatically here. That is perfect. Dwarf smelt again. Dwarf smelt. I would almost move on now, but I think I will stay here just a bit longer. I do not cast out quite as far, then I can see the floats better. So a bit closer in. This one here is again only fly. I think that is not a good combination. Here I also changed that to mayfly larva, but then I have to make the hook bigger, meaning a hook size 18. Then here mayfly larva with fly in combination, maybe that attracts something else. And here in the close range we already have the next bite. And on the third rod, something is also already going on again. So it really seems to work extremely well here with this combination. Of course, with the fish we already have, we now naturally keep catching more of the same. That is unavoidable. But for that, we then change the spot. So we move on right away and try whether this bait combination delivers different fish at other spots. Well, the fish cannot really decide. Maybe it is even a roach. Let's see. No, dwarf smelt again. Okay, we have enough of those now. I think I already had most of the important fish here. That means I move on now before it gets dark. And first to a classic spot where gibble carp often works quite well. Right here at this boat dock. And here I actually stay with the bait combination. That's inconvenient. Since when is this boat standing here? That is very, very, very inconvenient. You might even have to move it away. That is really not good. But I think it still works like this. A bit loose, let some line out so that all three rods can be positioned. So now we are slowly already in the evening hours. Time-wise, I have already been on the move here for 46 minutes. I have already completely finished the first task. Now I'm working on the second task, which is actually structured the same way. And this will of course still take a bit of time. And it can also be that especially at night it gets really difficult. Yes, as expected, nothing at night. From about 23 o'clock, absolutely nothing happened anymore. I am still standing here at this boat dock, and so far nothing has happened. If now in the early morning hours from about 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, nothing happens here either, I will of course immediately move on to the next spot. And there it finally announces itself, the next fish. I already missed 2 fish here in the morning hours and missed the third fish as well. So I move on now. This is a spot that has already brought me bad luck 3 times. I will come back here later. So there was probably a bleak on it, but also something bigger, And I did not get all 3 fish here. But because we now have these morning hours, this important time when many fish bite, I have to move on now to the next spot. And a very important spot is here below the lighthouse, right here in this area. So here we now have different options. One time, casting to the right towards the grass, or casting here where the other plants are in this area. So now we test here. One setup at 18 centimeters depth, very shallow, cast out just with fly. The other setup we also fish relatively shallow at about 50 centimeters with mayfly larva, and then the third rod goes to 1 meter depth. And on the first rod we immediately have the first bite, and it continues. Smelt, finally checked off. So we can continue. Fourth fish, that is correct. Now we still need the mud minnow and maybe also roach and so on. So whatever else can still go in here, we test that now at this spot, and otherwise we also cast straight out into the area and over there. So now this area is being tested directly below the lighthouse, and the next fish goes in immediately. Again, not hooked, but probably just a smelt again. Still here in the shallow area on fly. And now it starts again on 2 rods, left and right, and this one hooked. Very nice. Bleak also completed. Very nice. So we continue. Bleak here now, in this case at 50 centimeters depth, cast out again immediately. Pull in a bit, and also correctly position the other rod again. And the next candidate, and I think this one might be a chub. Yes, the float tips over, or what do we have here? No, also smelt. Okay, smelt also tips the float over. Several missed bites here already at 1 meter depth, but now finally caught the smelt also at 1 meter depth, and the next one is already hooked as well. Very nice. And what do we have here again? Bleak at 1 meter depth, here at Lake Ladoga. Very different from earlier at Winding Rivulet, where they are caught much shallower. Oh, what do we have here? The next one, ID, also went in. That is of course super practical. So now here on mayfly larva and mayfly larva, and now only 2 fish are missing and the whole thing is completed. The mud minnow should still work quite well. I once caught my trophy mud minnow here in this area. That means either I go there right away and test it again, or I simply try completely different areas now. For example, just over here on the side, maybe something still goes in here as well. Let's see. So we now try a different area. Cast twice in that direction. The rod here, I cast straight ahead into the slightly deeper water. And the third one here, the one with the fly combination, I also cast over there. And I think something was already on here again, right? Yes, something is already on again. So constantly the whole time, only with very small baits. But again, it did not hook. That has happened to me so often now. It could of course be the very small mud minnows, which sometimes struggle with the hook. And here it immediately starts again, just on the fly combination. Maybe it is bleak again, and it hooked, and it is smelt. Well, look at that. First bite on this rod, and it hooked immediately. I had set 1.5 meters depth, but again, just smelt. Yes, here we could now actually go a bit bigger, or simply try grasshopper or cricket. That is definitely also a possibility to complete the chub here as well. So here I now go a bit bigger with the baits. And here the combination, we also go a bit deeper. Let's do 1.2 meters. And here we combine this with cricket and mayfly larva. Cast that out loosely as well. That means I now only have 1 rod for very small fish and 2 rods for bigger fish. And here's something on the bigger setup. And this is the dangerous thing with these fish. They sometimes fake the bite and still are not hooked. Oh, that is annoying. And here already the next one. This could be a chub. It moved near the surface. No, something small again. That went in fast, almost like a frog. And it actually is a frog. And with that, I have also completed the frog. Very nice. Very nice. Yes, now basically only the chub is missing, and that should not be that hard. So taken. I rebuild this setup again, chub suitable, so to speak. Here we try it again with grasshopper and mayfly larva. Let's do 50 centimeters on the first rod. On the second one, something was already on again. I missed that nicely. Very good. So cast that out loosely again. And the third rod, I now go really deep with that towards 1.8 meters. That is, of course, only possible if your telescopic rods are long enough. If your telescopic rods are not long enough, you cannot go that deep. So you do need reasonably long telescopic rods. This here is the telescopic setup from the video What to Buy at Level 20, a very relaxed mid-game setup that I have been using very gladly lately, because with 10.8 kilograms line, it is absolutely sufficient for most fish. And it continues right away. Yes, not bad at all. The frequency is not wrong here either. Now the fish just have to get big enough, but with such small hooks, well, they will not get big. And that is not the point right now anyway. We just want to catch the fish for the task. And it hooked. Very nice. Does not look like a chub though. What do we have here? A roach. So with that, this task is also completed. Level 6, task number 3, and these are now all the fish once again, as just shown. And the roach just went in here at 1.5 meters depth, and with that you have all spots and also all bait combinations. If you want to continue and you are still missing fish as mentioned, you can also try a bit more here at the tip. Here you often get more smelt, which we already checked off. You can catch mud minnow here. But also, as said in the overview video for all tasks, this lower area is worth it. There is a large reed edge here. You can drive through here with the boat, drive up to it, and actually get out there, or you just stay in the boat. Here you will definitely always find mud minnows or many other small fish. And otherwise, the area right next to the boat rental. And with that, we actually have all the important spots. That is it. A lot of fish caught, and all of this in 1 hour and 30 minutes, almost exactly 2 tasks completed. If it helped you, leave a thumbs up. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel, that helps me in return. And then we will see each other in the next video or the next live stream. Until then, tight lines.